So we've been discussing Amalek and what he did to us, and we've explained that he is mainly a force in our own psyche. It's our ability to know the truth and still do the wrong thing, compared to doing the wrong thing simply because we're being silly, we're being foolish, we're being, animalistic. So this is obviously a very, very deep, entrenched evil that exists at the very highest heights of our soul. So therefore, we need to ask, where does he come from? Where does he get his energy from? How is it possible that such a state can exist? Most evil, like we said, does not find its origins very high up in the chain of creation. It derives from a ruach shtut, a disconnect from our higher faculties of intellect, reason, and awareness, due to a craving for worldly pleasures. Craving pleasure is not in and of itself evil per se, and is a key component of our soul. So most evil is a misappropriation of these things. It's usually for a reason. There's a good reason that a person has come up with. I really want that. I really need that. And he's being stupid. He doesn't really need it. He doesn't really want it. Amalek, on the other hand, doesn't try to conceal our higher faculties of reason, our connection to truth, or anything like that. And therefore, abstractly, he must get his source, his life force, from something even higher than reason. Those who know Kabbalah recognize that the intellectual sphere, the intellectual world, is the very first world, the highest point of creation. The takeaway from this is that Amalek must derive his existence from something even higher than the creation as we know it, the level of Tohu, as it's called, which is beyond reason altogether, preceding it. Let's get a better understanding of the cosmic picture of the creation as a whole, as well as discuss Hashem's own existence and being, because we need to. Hashem is making the world every instant, and he's infinitely exalted. Those are 2 points, right? He's making it every instant, and he's infinitely exalted. Both of those are key to our understanding. His existence and being are totally beyond our comprehension, and his greatness is such that the entire world is nullified to him, like a candle is nullified to the sun. We really have to let that point sink in, because it implies so much more than the standard understanding of God, which is just that he is the God of gods, the King of kings, the first, the strongest, the omnipotent one, the one in charge. Instead, the truth of how exalted he is means that this entire world is in need of his continual act of creating it, because it is as nothing compared to him, literally. And even though the creation is awesome in and of itself, from our very souls to our bodies to the universe and cosmos as a whole, it really comes from the tiniest glimmer of a trace of a ray of his creative power and light. A shadow of a shadow, it's called. If he were to create it with anything more than that, the world couldn't stand in his presence. It would be overwhelmed like a photon inside the sun, indistinguishable from the sun itself. Therefore, this original picture of Hashem that we have, the standard model as God of gods, is completely insufficient. And at the end of the day, it becomes impossible to imagine why Hashem would create this lowly, insignificant world. And we reach the point where we realize that what we consider significant, even our grand concepts of good and evil, has to be beneath him, beneath his exaltedness, to the point that it's nothing to him. This makes sense because he is the one who created the world with its good and evil. This may sound surprising, but this is the only possible explanation, and we can see it clearly if we think through the process of creation. Don't worry, it doesn't mean he doesn't care about good and evil. I just want to say that now. We're going to get there in a minute. But for now, let's go through the process of creation. As we know, Hashem created light and dark, night and day, sea and land, male and female. He created categories and separations. Categories and separation allows for there to be structure, order, and a whole rich and complicated world. However, given that these separations are acts of creation, it means that there's an original state of formlessness, where there is no separation at all. This is called Torah, formlessness, as in, the world was formless and void. We can describe this world as a realm that is the source of life, because all of the differences and complexities of the world all share their common source here. This state can produce everything in creation. A nice analogy given, which I went through in more detail in another video, is the soul filling the body. The soul exists by itself before it fills the body, and when it fills the body, we see the soul is capable of many actions and activities. It allows us to think, to feel, to see, to walk, to act. However, these powers of the soul are not separate in the soul itself. The soul is made out of the essence of life itself and is simple. It shines its simple, undifferentiated life light into the various organs. And whatever the organ is, it will produce that activity because that's what organs do. The faculties of the body are enlivened by the light of the soul, and it is them that take this raw, I can do anything ingredient of the soul's light and utilize it for whatever power they are designed to utilize. Similar to how a computer takes the very same simple electricity and puts it into different components to produce rich and diverse functions for computing. The processor in a computer and the hard drive may do very, very different things, but they are both powered by the same electricity. There is no processing power in electricity. There is no storage power in electricity, but it is, in an abstract way, contained within the electricity because the electricity can be utilized to do it with the right vessel. Get it? Another example is the manna in the desert. It is said that it could be any flavor, depending on what you want. It would become that flavor in your mouth. It is a substance that can be turned into anything, and due to this, it's a very exalted and lofty substance, far beyond our realm and understanding. Lahavdil, just like Hashem's light, which is raw life force itself. Just like the light of our soul, it is far exalted and lofty beyond our realm of understanding. It is raw life force. This raw life force parallels Hashem's exalted creative energy, or light, as it exists before it has created anything. This light creates all of the various details of creation because it can do anything, because of its simplicity. It even creates intellect itself. So you can clearly see that it is even more lofty than intellect, right? Therefore, it is only from here that we can fathom the existence of something so ridiculous as Amalek, an ability to know the truth and rebel against it, acting without reason or meaning. As a quick aside, if you want to understand why Hashem allows this and creates the world this way and not another way, because of course he could create it another way, where there would be no Amalek, you have to understand that he does this so that we can have free will. We can take this raw, undefined material of life and turn it into whatever we want, become whoever we want. He does not act as a tyrant over us or second guess us. He truly wants us to make a life for ourselves, although he expects us to come to understand that there is a right way and a wrong way to live as we grow and learn. This is illustrated very well with the following example, which parallels the process of creation. A child is born like a wild animal. He doesn't have any sense of purpose or direction, and is unaware of the different categories and separations that Hashem created. It is a very low level of discernment, and as a result, he is simply pure passion, without any shape or structure. Like an animal, he will follow his passion wherever it goes. Such a child needs to be taught about right and wrong, and this elevates his moral standing. Some people don't get very far. The height of their morality is that it's wrong to murder. And some people are more refined, sophisticated and elevated and make more distinctions. And all the way at the top is somebody who knows the moral right and wrong in every act and detail of the world, even on how to tie his shoes, which there is halachas about. Hashem made things work this way in order to allow us to have free will. We are created so that we can be anything we want, without limit. There are no limits. The intention for all this is not to actually let us do whatever we want, but to control ourselves and do things the way Hashem told us to. Our goal is to emulate him ourselves through our own efforts and walk in his ways, because he created us to give us the very best good, which is him, a relationship with him. It's obvious, right? By being like him, we are able to get close to him. And this is what he needs from us, and indeed is the very, very best good for us as well. Everybody deep down knows and agrees that a close, intimate relationship, without any barriers or problems, with our soulmates, is a good thing, no? However, due to the fact that the raw passion of life that Hashem gave us is from his infinitely exalted existence, an existence so exalted that it can do anything, literally anything, this means that there is a possibility too for every possible evil, even the evil of the brazen chutzpah of rejecting Hashem for no reason at all beyond pure rebelliousness. This is how Amalek is able to exist. Our soul is capable of anything, and this is the most intensely difficult, negative, flawed expression of our life force, to reject goodness itself. Who doesn't like goodness? Who buys a bad ice cream when you can buy a good one? Nobody. Yet somehow Hashem makes it possible, for the sake of our free will, that a person can come to reject goodness. This is called Amalek. Amalek the man, the nation, and finally, in today's day and age, the ideology are the result. A force in us that can only derive its power and existence from this highest, most exalted level of reality, Hashem's elevation beyond all categories and distinctions, and truly omnipotent, where anything is possible, even the power of rejecting goodness itself. Remember, Amalek stands for things that go against intellect and reason, randomness and meaninglessness. So this level of creation, which is beyond intellect and reason, is his source. This is why his descendant, by the way, Haman, thought he could defeat Hashem by drawing lots. Indeed, there is a parallel between randomness and the undefined state of Hashem's exalted, beyond reason existence and life force. And it's almost like we're saying that Hashem doesn't care on this level about good and evil, yeah? But that's incorrect, because this level is beyond reason, not irrational. And we need a mashal to understand that, an analogy. King Solomon, Shlomo, gave us one in Mishlei, of a spider in a king's palace eating flies. Even in a king's palace, you'll sometimes find spiders and flies. The flies are able to live with the crumbs that fall from the king's table, and the spider lives off the flies. It's not that these spiders or flies are welcome or valued in the palace. The opposite. They are most unwelcome. However, they are so small and insignificant that it's utterly beneath the king to involve himself in removing them. Goodness and evil are only meaningless to him in the sense that there is something even more important. Goodness and evil are only meaningless to him in the sense that there's something more important than that. The good of the good, if that makes sense. Good and evil are only meaningless to him in the sense that there is something even more important to him, which is something we'll get into at some point. This is a topic for another video, but suffice it to say that Hashem is not a fan of meaninglessness or preciousness, arbitrariness, and this is the secret of why we have to earn the goodness that Hashem sends us. A lot of people ask, why did Hashem make a world that he wants to send us to paradise? Why didn't he just send us there? Why do we have to go through this world of effort? And then we answer, because we have to earn our good. That's even better than a free gift. And then we say, why couldn't he make it so that we could have the good without a free gift? And this is the reason why. Hashem fundamentally is against arbitrariness. If he gave us good without us earning it, it would be arbitrary. It would be Amalek. Anyway, to say it again, the fact that Hashem allows evil to live and lets it have its portion of his life force is not because he doesn't care about evil, but because it is beneath him. Of course, he can get rid of it, but he doesn't. And that's also because it serves a purpose in creation. It gives us free will to be whoever we want to be so that we can truly serve Hashem and connect him as a partner rather than a robot or a slave. He's very romantic like that, and we appreciate it too. Free will is so important, in fact, that we even need Amalek. We need a part of us that is capable of even rebelling against our own awareness and knowledge, like the Midrash Haggadah says, knowing our master and still rebelling. If we couldn't rebel against Hashem then, we aren't truly free, and we aren't truly capable of anything, just almost anything, right? Hopefully that makes sense. The main takeaway is that there is a level of creation that is so abstract and elevated that it's the only place Amalek can get his power and life from. A place that can provide life force even for Amalek, who doesn't care for reasons, meaning, and is in fact the epitome of randomness and coincidence. This understanding is going to help us later because we're going to have to also tap into that realm in order to defeat him. So stay tuned for the next episode.